A virtual alphabet soup of networks and call letters, but there's a lot more to our story. It all begins in the infancy of television. In the late 1940s, the Federal Communications Commission put the brakes on television, establishing a freeze on broadcast licenses. So for 5 years, the Seattle-Tacoma area had only one television station. There was no channel surfing, so if you tuned into a cooking show or a soap opera, that was it. Finally, in 1952, the FCC lifted that freeze, and the race was on to be the Puget Sound's next television station. The prize for the victor? A valuable network affiliation. Our story really begins with Chief Engineer Max Bice.
Max Bice was a very brilliant engineer.
To get a sense of Max, try to imagine a man who builds a television for his family rather than going out and buying one. In 1952, Channel 11's license came through much faster than expected, only a few days before Christmas. Max Bice found himself unprepared with no equipment ordered.
So I stayed home till New Year's Day, took off for the east, hit RCA, General Electric, went right to their factories to see if we could get equipment.
He found most of the manufacturers overloaded with orders, until...
So I went up to Syracuse to GE, and they said, yeah, I think we can. So literally for 2 months, I go to the factory every day.
He would stand at the end of the assembly line slapping shipping tags on the equipment, claiming it for KTNT, then rush back to his hotel to drop the diagrams and mail them off to his crew back home.
Say, this piece of equipment's coming now. That's what I want to put in, and that's how I want it hooked up. And that's how KTNT went together.
One challenge was finding an antenna for the new station. With 2 months to spare, they didn't have time to wait for one to be built. Eventually, they discovered their antenna in Milan, Italy.
For a station that never came about there, we found it over there, had it shipped back over here, so we could use it here.
Transporting the huge antenna proved to be a challenge. Unable to fit it in a standard railroad boxcar, they found a special car used for shipping racehorses. The horse stalls were folded up and the antenna was sent on its way. By February, they were able to install the antenna on KTNT's existing FM radio tower in Tacoma. In record time, Channel 11 was on the air.
It was just a little over 2 months, 2.5 months, which thanks to a good crew I had, it really worked. People like Dick Ang and John Kelly and Chuck Neek.
They were working night and day and stringing cables and conduits.
Max Bice and his crew were heroes, and KTNT's first station manager, Len Higgins, was congratulated by the networks for being one of the few to keep his word on a starting date. On March 1st, 1953, Channel 11 went on the air with a gala event hosted by Len Higgins.
Governor Arthur B. Langley was there, and Val Fawcett was the mayor of Tacoma.
Plus, mayors of Seattle, Sumner, and Puyallup, along with Daffodil and Seafair Queens. Telegrams from around the state came in to let KTNT know that the inaugural program was coming in from border to border. Soon, the little television station headquartered inside a home in Tacoma began to grow.
A studio had been added on, and added on here and added on there.
UPN 11's current chief engineer, Ron Diet, has a great deal of respect for Max Bice and the challenges his fellow engineers faced.
Basically, the lack of knowledge that was known about this type of technology, there was so little of it around. How did you learn?
The Northwest finally had its second television station, and for the first time, you could change the channel. After 5 years, it was long overdue.